Hello, everyone. Thank you for jumping on board. This is the electronic identification webinar, which we are carrying on from the 15th of June field day we held at how long last Thursday. For those of you who weren't able to make it last Thursday, a few of the key takeaways that we had from the presentations included, you can't manage what you don't measure. And so today, Henry Hickson from Nextgen Agri is going to carry on with the talks in terms of how can we take the data from the handlers, manipulate it in Excel, and then feeding it back into the indicators to be able to use these technology devices to their greatest capacity. And so a few other key points that were from Thursday is plan what data you need before collecting it. There are many different traits that you can record, whether that be weight gain or pregnancy or lactation status or fleece weight, but have a plan of what data you need to achieve your breeding objectives to help refine it. And most importantly, when handling data, whether it be in Excel or potentially engaging other software providers, keep it simple and do simple well. And so a few points from Henry's presentation last week was measuring responses to manage responses to management in stock, hitting management targets, increasing labour flexibility, selecting animals to retain, and enhancing traceability and transparency. So I think I did a pretty bad job of viewing that. I'll pass it over to you, Henry, to take us away. So thank you.
Righto, awesome. Thank you, Sophie. Good evening, everyone. I hope, I imagine it's just Victorians on board because, as we were talking about before, we've conveniently put this on State of Origin night. So as a New South Wales supporter, I definitely forgot about that minor detail. But anyway, it doesn't seem to worry too many people around the Murray, so that's good. As Sophie just reiterated last week, we tried to speak about, I missed part of the field day, unfortunately, but was able to speak at the end. And so, probably just summing up what I spoke about is that, EID is going to become mandatory for producers in the next, by 2025. And so, from your 2025 drop onwards, you're going to have EID tags in, and then by 2027, you're going to have an EID in every animal that leaves your farm. So instead of viewing all of that as a cost to your business, let's try and view it maybe more as a potential investment, and let's see what data we can get off that EID, because they do have the potential to add a lot of profit to your business, as well as the other advantages like biosecurity. Just to reiterate, as Sophie said, deciding what to record, so having a good breeding objective early, and then once you've worked out your breeding objective, what you want, what traits you decide are most important for your sheep enterprise, then you can work out what you're going to record, how you're going to record it, so what device, who's going to record it on farm, so if there's multiple people recording, making sure you have consistency between staff members. So that's kind of a very brief summary of what we spoke about last week. And today I was going to run through probably what are the first steps, or in setting up an EID. So if we start in the landmark and cradle, basically how do we begin? Recording those simple things like birth type and potentially a dam age, sex, all those things that you can do in the landmark and cradle, how to record them, and then uploading those onto your device. And then we're going to do an example of downloading a session off your device and then re-uploading it. So hopefully we can start with that. And if you have any questions at any time, please, feel free to jump in, because I think, you guys can guide me as to what you want to learn in regards to like taking information on and off your device or anything around EID. So hopefully I'll start with, some basic getting things on and off your device. And then, if your discussion leads me to what other things you want to look at from there. Does that all sound pretty good so far? Any questions before I begin? Oh, yeah. Thank you. Yeah, so also you can put your questions in the chat as well if you don't want to speak up.
And I'll just reiterate, we really want this to be a discussion type session. So feel free to put your camera on if you want to make it a bit more, I don't know, personal, but ask your questions away. And we really want to hear you as the participants shaping where we go with tonight, so that you can walk away with your questions answered. So don't be shy to ask them. Thanks, Henry.
Awesome. Righto, so I'm just going to share my screen quickly here to an Excel file. So at lamb marking, basically the first data recording point of those animals' lives. So hopefully what you've done previously is, if you've got a preg scan of your ewes, you'll split them into singles and twins for lambing. And then if you've got maidens separately to your mature ages, or ewe lambs separately, you'll have them as well. So when you bring those lambs in for lamb marking, you actually already have that information on hand. You've just got to be able to record what tag numbers are from what mob of ewes. So there's two ways basically to do that. One is to have either your XR wand or Gallagher wand available, or have your or what you can do is have a notebook and record what tag number you start with for the mob and what tag number you finish with. And so what I'm going to show you quickly is, if you do that system, you'll then get sent through a bucket file from your tag manufacturer, and it's going to look something like this. So has everyone seen one of these before, or not really? Has anyone got a bucket file from their tag manufacturer?
Yeah, we do, Henry, but like we have to ask for them. They don't sort of volunteer it, So you got to, we do have to send them an email and ask for it.
Yeah, that's right. So you have to send them an email, or otherwise on the back of the packet, or like of your order, there actually should be there's a number on there that you can enter into the website, and it actually it will send you this automatically. But the easiest way, I think, is to email them. You will have
with ours, with the ours are all flex that showed up in the last couple of weeks, and anyway, all I did was just Google all flex EID bucket file, and it come up with a website, and you just jam your property pick number in, and it comes up with all the different orders you've ever got through Allflex of EIDs, and just downloaded those Excel files, which was pretty straightforward.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you. Yeah, that's good. I actually think Allflex do that quite well. So I'm not sure, because there's obviously multiple tag providers, so it's going to be slightly different depending on whether you're Allflex or Shearwell or C tags, or what your tag manufacturer is. I definitely know that, as Ian said, you can go on and email them. Otherwise, Allflex sound like they've got a very good system. It must be Shearwell, I reckon, where you go on and you enter your batch number, and it will drop out what you've basically this file of what you've purchased. So I suppose when you get this file, it's going to look, generally they look something like this. So you have your RFID tag number, so that is basically your EID number. So that's going to be in one column. Then it'll be printing one, which is your VID, so your visual tag. It'll have your farm name, the year drop, and the color of the tag. So what I've just written over to the right here as well is like, if say you'd written in a notebook, right, the first 200 lambs I got in from my first mob, were twins out of maiden. So if you'd got, your twins out of maidens in and then marked them, they might have been tags 1 to 200. Then the next mob you did might have been your singles out of your maidens, so 150 of them, your singles out of mature age ewes, and then your twins out of mature age ewes. So just quickly how we set that up. So to go into an XR or a Gallagher device, the setup is quite the same. So if I've got my bucket file here, I'm just going to save a copy. So we can call it bucket file upload, and usually I just date them so I know when, but that's just out of habit more than anything. So then the key things we have to change once we've resaved this file is to change it into a format that is compatible with your device. So probably before I start with this, what I might do is open up an example template. So I'll just make sure. Did it change screen, Sophie, or did I share my?
So we can still see your Excel sheet.
But I'll just reshare this. You got that
Yeah, great.
second one?
Yeah.
So thanks, Sophie. So what we've got here is this is a template that we've been using and we'll have on the Riv Plains website after tonight. So basically, for whatever device, whether you're with TrueTest or Gallagher or whoever, you're going to need consistent titles. So basically, if you're trying to enter something into that device, you always want your title to be consistent, or otherwise you're going to end up with a bulk of data and you're never going to you're going to really struggle to get that data back out in a usable form or get it back up on your classing screen because you're just going to get lost. And that's why we probably spoke about last week, knowing what data you want to record first, because basically otherwise, if you don't know what data you're going to record and then you start recording random stuff, you're going to end up with a device that's just full of useless data that you never actually utilize. And all it's going to do is clog up your device and you're going to be less likely to use it because it's so clunky. So just making sure that, on this, on your device, you've got the same titles. And so I'll go over this again, but I might just state it now while I'm on this page. But say if you're doing entering birth type for this first year, which we're about to do, if we enter it BT for the first year, then it's probably going to be handy that you keep BT as your title for birth type. Otherwise, if you ever want to look at a group of ewes, mixed age ewes, and you want to see their birth types, 1 year drop might be recorded as BT and the other year drop might be recorded as birth type. So if you ever want to do, say, a draft file off them, or if you want to display that on your device, you're going to have to tell it to utilize both titles, which gets quite messy. So often I'll get calls going, my auto drafter isn't working, I've sent a sheep in and it stops. What'll usually happen is that, say, for birth type, someone has entered it as birth type and then displayed BT on the screen or told it to draft off BT. So if you've got multiple titles, all it's going to do is confuse you later and make your life more difficult. So whatever you decide to call birth type, enter it in this column here so we can change that. And this will be provided as an Excel document to all of you. So if it's birth type, and then just making sure that like your single, twin, triplet is all the same. So if you want to type it out, you can. If you want to write 1, otherwise I think the easiest is just 1, 2, 3. But whatever it is, I can't stress enough that it needs to be kept consistent. So for today, we might use, say, because we're entering EID and VID first, we're going to use those 2 titles. So what I like to do, or what we've been doing with some of our clients, is actually printing out this screen and putting it, potentially sticking it to the back of the device or leaving it where the device is kept, and then also sticking it near the computer where data is pulled off that device. So then every time you're putting data on, you can look at this screen here and go, oh, that's what I need to call this recording event. So you're not just constantly putting data on under different names. So I probably got on to a touch of a tangent there, but hopefully that'll be handy when we start going onto this file. So yeah, if we start with our RFID tag, we're going to have to change that to EID like we did in that file. And then this visual identification, we're going to have to change to VID. These columns here, we're not really going to need, so we can delete farm name. If you want to have year drop, you can have year or date of birth, whatever you decided back in your template that you want to call it. So we might call it year today, and we probably won't worry about color because you'll be able to see that. So then we want to enter some of this data. So our birth type and our dam status. So if I quickly go back, I should just share my screen. Sorry, I'll just share this screen. So if I go back to this quickly, we can see that we've decided that birth type and dam. So I might just copy that over here. So now we know what we're going to call it. So in one column, I'm going to enter birth type. The second, I'm going to enter dam. So use 1 to 200, and there's a lot of ways that you can manipulate Excel to enter this simply, but I'm probably going to keep it to the one that most people will know instead of creating a table or a filter. So we're going to first do birth type 1 out of maidens, because that's, or maiden, because we've called it maiden there. So make sure you stick to maiden, don't call it maidens. So we'll copy that, and we're just going to paste that for the first 200 tags because that was out of that mob. So I'll bring that down. And so then that's ready to upload, tag 200 to 350. Oh, sorry, they're all actually twins. So fix that. And then the next 150. So down to tag 350 are all your singles out of maidens. Then 350 to 500 are going to be your singles out of mature age years. And so it's better check, but I'm thinking that, so we called mature age years MA for our device. So we're just going to make sure that we enter them as MA. That is 350 to 500.
And so just to make it clear, for why you're doing this, Henry, is this because you've noted this and you put the tags in and you know from when you're in the yards that's where those tags went in? Is that why you're manually doing it?
Yeah. So this little bit here is where I hopefully wrote in a notebook when I was in the yards, or and I wrote what tag numbers I put into each mob. So at the start of the day, if you write, this is the first mob I'm doing, so tag number 1, and then at the end of the day, just write the tag number you finish with. And then for the next mob, the tag number you start with, and then the tag number you finish with. Is generally the easiest way to do this. And so what I'm doing is I've just copied what I wrote potentially in my notebook. I wrote this here. So now I know which tag corresponds to which.
So is that more efficient than, say, scanning them as soon as you put the tag in and pressing like 1 on your wand to put that in straight away?
Yeah, unless you're recording other information on the marking cradle, I think that then going through and scanning each tag, it's actually probably easier just to record your tag number at the start of the mob and your tag number at the end, and then bulk uploading it like this.
Yeah, yeah, great.
Otherwise, if you were going to use your wand, if you've got an XR2, you can scan it and then press 1 or 2. Or what you could do is you could scan it, and I'll show in a minute, you could download that session and you'll have a list of EIDs, and you might just call the session name twins, and then you could enter that afterwards, or you could set your wand to auto record. So anything in that session records birth type as a twin. So there are a few tricks like that on EID. I know Ian's been caught out before with the old auto record, so he's probably the expert.
Well, we've made plenty of mistakes. And that, like, and the other thing worth well, it does take a bit of time here, like at this step here. So like say at landmarking, especially with the Shearwell, I don't know what the other brands are like, but the Shearwell ones, like they turn up in boxes and they all seem to be stacked in the bags back to front. You know, so you've got to pull them all out of the bags and lay them down on the back of the ute in sequential order to make sure you don't get your numbers muddled up. That like it only takes a couple of minutes, but it's just another process that you sort of get in the habit of. Whereas before we worried about, you know, putting data in at the bucket list, you just grab tags out randomly and whatever tag was in your hand first, you just start tagging lambs. But now you sort of make sure they go in the right order.
Yeah, thanks. And has anyone else found anything similar to that, or is that just Shearwell?
We started it, got it sort of auto increasing. So the risk is that we put the wrong tags in the gun, but got it auto increasing. So I started at 23,000,001 and got it automatically going up. But yeah, the risk is that we put the wrong tag in and we keep on flying through, or we miss one somehow, but it's been working well so far. But also have been writing down tags to mobs, tag numbers to mobs.
Yeah, cool. Thanks, Tom. So, yeah, there are multiple ways to do it, as you can see by that. Yeah, small discussion. I think that's kind of the beauty and maybe a bit the danger with EIDs. There are actually so many ways that you can do it, and I've tried to sit down. It'd be nice if you could throw out a blanket rule. This is how to utilize EID, but in reality, picking a system and then working out what works for you, what traits are important to you, and what's the easiest way to record it. So yeah, for you, if that does mean scanning every tag with your wand, or writing them down at the start, or whatever system works for you and you're comfortable with and you're happy with the data, I think that's probably the most important thing. So I might just finish running through. So these last ones are going to be twins out of mature age ewes. So I'll just finish copying them in. And then we've got basically our file here is ready to upload. So now we can delete those. And we've got some information on these ewes here. So we've got bucket file to upload. So that can now be ready to go onto our device. So see if I can get. So for me, I utilize TrueTest data links. So unfortunately, I actually snapped my cord today, which is handy in the yards. So I'm now going to have to go into town and buy a new cord, so I can't connect up my wand that's sitting next to me. But on this screen here in the top left, there would basically be an upload and a download button. So all you'd need to press is upload, go and find this file on your device, and then it's uploaded as animal lifetime information. So what I've got, a file. This file here should show it. So with Riverine Plains, we've helped create some templates basically for TrueTest or Data Mars and Gallagher devices. So this is going to be released after the session as well. So to upload data onto your wand, basically this file here is going to reiterate what we've done today. But opening TrueTest, clicking put information on device, and select animal lifetime information, select open, and all that information is going to transfer onto your device. So all this top bit is talking about here is what we're going to do next, but basically, setting up data in a format that you can put it straight onto your device. So just like we've done here. So that's in a format ready to go on. Click upload, animal lifetime information, and all that data about those animals will upload straight onto that device. So once you've downloaded landmarking or marking information, the next kind of chronological step will be probably at weaning, or later on will be a weight. So if say we'd collected a weight on one of our devices, you'd plug in your device, it'd come up here, download. I'll show this on here, sorry. So it'd come up on your device, session download. So you'd select your desired sessions you want to download, get information off your device, and then basically save it to where you want. And once you've saved your session, this is what that file is going to look like. So it's going to have the name of the session, the date, and then basically your titles that are on either your wand or your device. So at the moment, what we're basically interested in is the weight of these animals at weaning and essentially their EID or VID. So what the device is interested in is because we know that it likes accepting EID and VID, but we need to work out if this is at weaning, what are we going to upload that data as? So that's where you would go back to your table that you said earlier. And if you're calling weaning weight WWT, then you'd have to change that title. So what we might do here is change this title to WWT. So now we're kind of set up. So we've got to delete these first few rows because our device isn't going to like that. So delete those few rows and then delete any unnecessary data that's there. And then all we need to do is copy this and sorry, we'll just copy this because I think it likes having the EID on the left-hand side. And so that's just a bit of basic Excel manipulation to have it now in the format EID, VID, and weight. So the key part to this is, yeah, you're going to get a weight off your device, which will be uploaded, well, at the time will be as part of a session, as session data. What we want to do is we want to re-upload it to your device as lifetime data. So whenever you go into that device and you select weaning weight, it'll always display a weaning weight for that animal. So now on that device, yeah, you'll have stored for whenever you scan that animal over, say, the next 5 years of its life, you know exactly what its weaning weight was. So once we've done that, we can save this as a copy. We can call it weaning weights to upload to device. Once we've done that, we can get out of that session. And then we can go back to our template, uploading data. So this here is saying basically, yeah, set it up, delete your top 5 rows that we did, and any irrelevant information. So then we have our information, save it like we did, open true test, put information on device, and save it as animal lifetime information, and then you open it. So yeah, that's how to re-upload data onto your wand or onto your XR. So basically, if we go back to our template here, any data that you want to record for the rest of that animal's lifetime, you can record that on your device. And for weight, you're probably going to have to download it each time and re-upload it, but the rest of it, you can probably enter it straight as lifetime data. So yeah, the key is just to make sure on both True Test and Gallagher, anytime you go into settings, you can go into animal data and you can click on any of these titles and tell it to display it. So whenever you scan an animal, it'll come up with any data you've recorded on it. Oops, sorry. So that's why it's important to enter your weights back into the device. Otherwise, the only weight you can look up is a previous weight. Does that kind of make sense? Are there any questions about that? No, not too many so far. Are there any questions about, yeah, manipulating data in Excel, or say if you wanted to, yeah, set up, I don't know, draft files, or are there any particular points that people are getting stuck at with manipulating data in that space there?
So one thing for me, Henry, is uploading and then creating a rules-based draft.
Yep.
If that's doable for you now with this information or not.
Yep. So it probably will be. I'll see if I can get up. That's for XR? Is that right, Tom?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's for an XR 5000, which is data mask. So I'll just get open. So we can provide a link to this on potentially on the Riverine Plains or at the bottom website or at the bottom of these templates that we're going to put out. So True Test actually have a very good drafting setup guide. So basically, if you are looking to set up a draft, once you've entered, say, the information like we did before, so say if you wanted to draft off birth type and your dam, so a lot of people when they're classing, they might want to draft off, right, they might want to draft 4 ways, so their singles out of the mature ages are getting classed all together, their twins out of mature ages are all getting classed together, and then their twins out of maidens are getting classed as one group, and their singles out of maidens are getting classed out of one group. So then you're not biased, or your classer isn't biased when they're looking through that through those sheep. So that's probably one pretty common draft if you're trying to set up a draft file. So I'll use that as my example now. So basically, if you go into settings and you go into drafting, first part is going to be, you want to turn drafting on. So step 1, turning drafting on. And I like to show the draft direction on the way screen, so you know how many are going each way. Then you'll see that step 2, choose whether to sort animals based on weight, average daily gain, other single criteria, or rules-based drafting. You can also select multiple advanced criteria. So basically, most of the times, if I was doing that, I would be using like either the single criteria or multiple criteria. So in this case, if I was just looking to draft off single criteria, so birth type, and just draft off my singles and twins, I'd click on single criteria. Then I'd select the number of directions, so I'd only need it to go 2 ways. And then then it's got a screen, choose when to draft. So you can, if you're say setting it up off a handler that's weighing it, you can tell it to either wait until you've pressed record from your weight or from whatever data you're collecting, and then it'll draft it, or you can just set it up to draft automatically as soon as it reads the EID. Or I think there's a read EID, wait 3 seconds and then draft it. And then once you've, this is drafting by weight, I'll just go down a bit further. So this is going to be your drafting if you go for single criteria. So what you want to do is it'll say single criteria and you'll select draft however many ways, so 2 ways and you'll have selected birth type. And then so what your draft rules would then be is if birth type, if 2, draft right, if 1, draft left. And so then I don't know if they'll have the multiple one here. So basically the multiple one is quite similar. I'll go back up. But I would just tell it would be like if it comes up kind of more in a table. So it'd be if birth type is 1, and then on the right here, it'd be dam, mature age, draft right. If birth type 2, mature age, draft left. And then maidens, diagonal right, maidens, diagonal left. So that's kind of how that's set up. There we go. So John's just asked a question. Just to be clear, you're assuming you have a mob of maidens with singles, maidens with doubles, mature age with singles. Yeah. Yeah, so that's correct. So this is, hopefully this answers your question, John, but yeah, assuming that you've lambed down your maidens that were scanned in it, that scanned twins separately, you lamb down your maidens that scan singles separately, and then your mature ages that scan twins separately, and your mature ages that scan singles. So they're all separate. You recorded it at lamb marking, and now you want to draft off those lambs. So you could also put in, if you've recorded the preg scan data on those ewes, what you could do is you could go draft by preg scan result, and that actually means that you don't actually have to be dotting backs of ewes in the future. You can just tell it to draft twins right, preg scan is single straight, and drives to the left. I've also seen it done quite well. There's a lot of ways to have previous preg scan data. So as they've said, yeah, last week at the session, the true test, or the data Mars reps, they said that, yeah, one way to enter it is that to have your titles preg scan 1, preg scan 2, right through to 10, and they're your years. Or otherwise, yeah, just having a previous preg scan and loading them up on there. So anyway, does that kind of answer your question, Tom, or not really?
Yeah, it does. I think where we have issues is if we're, say, going into a joining period, and this has mainly been with ewe lambs, and you're trying to get them into joining group, but then also chucking a weight range over that as well. I'm not sure if I'm entering the rules incorrectly, but it can get it to do all the breed types and all that sort of stuff, twin born. But if I start chucking weight components in it, it seems to be having fits on me.
Yeah, right. Yep, because that, in that case, you would need rules-based drafting, like this is suggesting. I'll be honest, I've actually never done it with a live weight at the time. I've done it on a previous weight. So say they might have weighed them 2 days before, and then we've set up a draft file on anything that was over 40 kilos. And then multiple criteria off that. So anything over 40 kilos, yeah, it's a ewe. Or what I've done is any twins over 40 kilos or any single, sorry, over 42 kilos. So we actually set up different like weights that were required for both twins and singles, because your twins will get in lamb as ewe lambs at lighter weights. So I've done that before in multiple criteria, but that's, yeah, not with a live weight. So I'd say that's probably a bug more than anything, which is annoying because unfortunately I can't give too much info about that.
Feed on time a bit, I guess, but whether it's doable and I'm just writing the rules wrong, or whether it does actually need to be downloaded and re-uploaded to draft quicker that way.
I know, like, you have to be careful, and I don't know whether this is relevant for the problem you're having, Tom, but like, you got to put the rules in the right order. You know, for example, say if you just look at it at weight, for instance, like you have to work which way is it, like, because it'll, whatever rule it makes first is the way it'll draft it. So if it was looking at weight first, it would look at weight and go, right, so that's anything under 42. Then once it's drafted off that decision, like, doesn't care whether it's out of a single or a twin or whatever, you know. It's not sure if I'm explaining myself very well, but I know we've got a bit tangled up sometimes on that rule-based drafting.
Yeah, it's just jumping to the first one and says that'll do and spits it out.
Yep. Yeah. So you got to really think about. It does take it hurts your head when you set them up. Like, you got to set them up well to start with. Yeah, those rule-based ones. Yeah.
Yeah, righto.
Yeah, I think that's probably good advice. And yeah, so I probably actually can't give heaps on the rule-based stuff. I know that, yeah, it's interesting. I've used multiple criteria a lot. Basically all the times I've used drafting, and I find that works quite well, but it's in some sense maybe a little bit simpler, I find, because you already know all the data you have and it's sitting there in front of you. So you can basically sit there, you know which way each sheep should be drafted before it even gets in there. So then if something's not right, you can go in and fix it. Whereas with the rules-based one, if you're weighing them on the day, you don't really know until you've weighed the animal which way it's going to go. But yeah, that probably is where it gets a touch complicated. And just one thing quickly, I suppose, yeah, one problem, yeah, we've seen around, not that I mention any names here, but say if you have like auto record selected on and you're sending stuff through your drafter, if you've got auto recorded selected on for a trait, say if you're trying to draft off birth type and then you've accidentally selected birth type on, but you've selected auto record, whatever the first one is, it's just going to keep recording every animal after that as that first one. So say if the first animal that comes in as a single, it's going to record every animal after that as a single, and then it's going to spit them all into the singles pen, and you're going to be sitting there swearing at your device saying it's not working. And then the worst thing is you have to go actually re-upload your data. So if you are drafting something, just making sure your little auto record button isn't on, and that will look like that's like a little blue square next to the next to your trait that's basically got arrows in a circle around it.
We use auto record, like if we're doing a mob that's all one cohort, just punch it in. If it's in his lifetime data and you go back into whatever a weigh session weighing lambs, does it override that lifetime? I don't know if I've had the experience of leaving it on, but can it overwrite lifetime going forward, or is it only on that first auto record when the field's empty?
I believe it, and it might be in better position here than me. Was that lifetime data we're playing with? I reckon it was.
Yeah, I reckon it was. I think it was. I think and it was pretty simple. Like we had them set up in mobs of terminals and maternals, and went and had them all grouped together. Went through to draft them off. Split the maternals and the terminals two ways, and they all get spread out one side, and we wondered what we were doing wrong for a bit. I'm pretty sure it would have been it would have to be lifetime data. So I suppose your lifetime data is your most recent read. The most recent data input is what it's logging for its lifetime trait there, I suppose.
Yeah, and just probably on that, like, yeah, your lifetime, like that auto record function is good, but yeah, it can make mistakes. But that's not the only function that, yeah, will probably, I don't know, you will have little things like that probably pop up throughout your journey a bit. And so if there's one thing I could recommend, it's, yeah, having, number one, these set titles, and then also every time you've finished recording a session or you're about to upload something onto your device, like just having a downloads folder and an uploads folder and having all your device backed up, whether it's through whatever chosen platform it is. Like I really like having all the data in Excel documents saved in the folders for whatever client I'm working with, or otherwise some people utilize the online platforms of Datamars or the animal performance software of Gallagher. And I find that quite easy as well because I can log in and go download files. But as long as you've got it backed up somewhere, I think is key. I think people probably get into trouble when all their data is just probably sitting just on their device, and then they end up with a big chunk of data on their device. If you pull it off and have it at least kind of organized either on one of the data platforms or on your computer in folders, I think you're going to be a lot more likely that if something goes wrong, you can go in, and if you've got it well filed, you can just go re-upload that file, and it's not going to be as big a disaster as if, you'd never save that document, and then you go back in and you're like, oh, now I've lost forever, the birth type of those animals.
We just had a question from John. So each data file and each session you need to keep, I think.
Not necessarily. Now that I've said that, I personally like to save session files, and then once I've re-uploaded them, I just file all those sessions in kind of a file on my laptop, and then you end up building a bit of a lifetime data set for those animals. And I'm happy to keep adding to that whether it's potentially in the one document or multiple documents. But I
Do you want
think,
to just show that in Excel, Henry? Because like I think like, am I right in understanding that when you have, you create your lifetime data and you have that EID, VID, the birth type and your weaning weight and these initial data points. Then as you continue to have different sessions, you're going to have more data. Should you have that, master spreadsheet with, as you keep adding on to, but then also have the individual sheets with the EID, VID, and maybe one recent measurement that you upload those single files back on? Is that, I'm just trying to help word it. I don't know whether you should actually, if that's right, or whether you should show it in Excel to just sort of visualize what we're talking about.
yeah. So say if I take this upload file that we've uploaded for a weaning weight, what
I don't know if
people,
you're still sharing the web browser at the moment.
am I? That's interesting. Right, we're back on an Excel document.
Yeah.
Cool. So if I go in, weaning weights to, so say if I have this file that we've downloaded off our wand, actually it hasn't saved it quite how you'd get it off your wand, but that'd be file name, date, and whatever else would be there. So this might be your file directly off the wand, and this might be your upload file. So what some people will do is they'll create a copy of this, and then in one master file potentially, they'll put it, so raw weight, and they might call this the master document. And so then, say then if they get, like if this suddenly becomes, like you've downloaded a file that now looks like this, and this is their post-weaning weight, or it's just going to say weight because it's off your device, and you get a different set of weights, what people will do is they'll then move that to the end of this master file, and then they can do an X lookup or copy. So they'll enter P weight, and they can look up this VID in their new file that they record to weight, and it should pull it all through. And then so every session they do for that drop, they'll keep adding it. They'll add the raw session. Down the bottom, this is one way I've seen it, and then they end up with a master file that's got all the data. So that's one way to do it. Otherwise, in say your file here, you could have what I often have is say a 2023 drop, and I would move everything into this file, and then I would have an XR upload. And so that's where then I would put this document that I've been uploading. And so I would name this file weaner weights to upload to device 2106. And I would then put that in my upload file. And then I would move the session to, and I would have an uploaded sessions. So then each session I download, I would drop into the 2023 drop. I would then, once I've uploaded it, move it into uploaded sessions and move the upload file into the XR upload. So that's just one way I do it. Yeah, the other way is that you can save it all onto the one file, but you're then going to have to make a copy of your master file to upload anyway. So yeah, once again, a little bit of manipulating in Excel. I don't know if anyone's found any other ways they like to do that. Because I think you store a lot of yours online, don't you, Ian? That's right, isn't it?
On the device, do you mean, Henry, or?
Yeah, like a lot of your files you've been uploading to the cloud.
Yeah, we're just using the cloud as a mechanism to get it back to the laptop, I suppose. to get it back to drop off. Yeah, that's all. Yeah, no, look, they still sit there, don't they? They still sit there in that data Mars thing, but I haven't really got my head around it.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
Excel is easier. I think what you're doing is easier, but I think Soph might be a good, might be a need for some of us to brush up on our Excels, because it might be a case for an Excel training workshop down the track somewhere because I don't think I'd be quite as quick around it as you are, Henry.
Should have jumped on our Excel for Farmers workshop a couple of weeks ago,
Yeah, I keep missing them. Yeah, but no, I should for sure.
A good idea. Well, I'll make a note of that, and this is being recorded as well. So I'm planning to have this on the website so you can go back and sort of look at it a bit slowly in terms of, where Henry's flicking to select different things, because I'm aware, even for me, I'm like, oh, that was a bit quick. So
Yeah. So sometimes I have to work out where I'm going to. Yeah. So are there any other questions or anything else that you'd like to cover?
So, Henry, really, in terms of building a file for an individual animal, like 80% or more of the data is going to be grabbed in the first 12 months of its life anyway, and from then on, you're really just building building on preg status, or what else are we going to be building on in reality after that first 12 months?
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. So most of this data is essentially like as you say, recorded in the first 12 months of life. And I think the main reason that it's advantageous to do this is so you're actually selecting the right ewes to keep. So it's going to be that yearling class, or whether it's that class once they've just at preg scanning after if you're joining them as ewe lambs. But having all this information to potentially display when you're classing can be really powerful. So that's probably one of the main is ways it can help, is that once you've collected this information, you can then index your sheep and basically rank them based off how they've performed, and then go through them, and you kind of know where they sit in their drop. And so essentially we have had people that have drafted through on an index and then just had someone sit there and pull out culls as they walk into their into their handler. So I think the main one is just trying to get it so that information in the first 12 months, if you're recording it, you're going to utilize it at classing time. Otherwise you're going to utilize it for a draft session later in life, or basically without an auto drafter, like some of that preg status one, unless you're going to start deciding what ewes you're going to sell first. If things get dry, it's going to be ewes that are, say, 5 years old and have only reared less than 6 lambs. So that's probably the decision in the data. Otherwise, a lot of it's more useful for draft files probably, so you're not always painting your sheep at preg scan time.